Rain drifted across the harbor bridge in thin, silvery threads, blurring the world into a watercolor of headlights and steel. Evening had settled, quiet and heavy, the kind of quiet that usually meant nothing dangerous could possibly happen. Officer Maya Rivera stood beneath the orange glow of a flickering street lamp, its halo trembling in the damp air. Beside her, Tyson, her retired K-9 partner, sat with a calmness that came from years of reading human darkness. But that calm shattered in an instant. A black SUV rolled toward the checkpoint, tires hissing on the wet asphalt. Maya barely glanced at it. Another commuter heading home from the docks, nothing more. Until Tyson suddenly stepped off the curb, his body went rigid, his ears shot forward. A low, guttural growl vibrated from deep in his chest. "Tyson? Easy," Maya murmured, but he didn't hear her. He didn't need to. Something inside that SUV, something hidden behind tinted glass, had already spoken to him. Then it happened. A small hand appeared on the fogged rear window, fingers trembling, pressing into the glass in a strange, deliberate shape. Thumb tucked, palm open, like a dog's paw. A silent scream, a coded cry. The girl's eyes, swollen from crying, locked onto Tyson through the rain. The SUV began to roll forward. Tyson lunged, barking so violently the cones rattled across the bridge. The driver panicked. The engine revved. The vehicle jerked sideways. And in that breath of a second, Maya realized something chilling. The little girl wasn't waving. She was signaling. And Tyson, the retired K-9 who wasn't supposed to be working anymore, was the only one who understood. Hours earlier, the harbor had felt almost gentle. Foghorns groaned somewhere beyond the breakwater, vibrating across water that carried the dull shimmer of late afternoon. Gulls drifted between cargo cranes like scraps of white cloth floating on the wind. The air tasted of salt and diesel, of routine and repetition. Elements Maya Rivera knew too well. This checkpoint on the Causeway Bridge wasn't supposed to challenge her. It wasn't supposed to remind her of who she used to be. Maya leaned against the patrol barricade, raincoat rustling softly. Her hair was tied back in a practical knot, a few strands escaping to cling against her cheeks in the mist. She exhaled slowly, fogging the cool air. Traffic and public safety. That was her post now, a long way from the investigative unit where she once hunted predators in the shadows of this very city. A long way from the case that had crippled her confidence and pushed her into quieter assignments. She told herself she was fine with it. She told everyone she was fine with it. But the truth lived behind her ribs like a locked door. At her feet, Tyson sighed and shifted his weight. The Belgian Malinois coat, darker now with age and flecked silver at the muzzle, reflected the bridge's orange lights with a faint sheen. His posture was relaxed, but his eyes never relaxed. They scanned each approaching vehicle with the same steady vigilance that once made him the department's most reliable K-9. Maya knelt beside him, scratching the fur behind his ear. "You're supposed to be retired, buddy," she whispered. Tyson leaned into her hand, warmth moving through him like a quiet acknowledgement. He had been through too much to pretend this was simply retirement. Dogs like him didn't turn instincts off. They only waited. Listening to things human ears were never built to hear. A co-worker joked from down the lane. "Rivera, your partner looks more alert than half the rookies." Maya managed a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Shift change was only 20 minutes away. Rain had begun drifting in, soft drops tapping against the metal barricades. Each passing car threw ripples of light across the asphalt. Maya found herself slipping into the rhythm of monotony. The steady hum of engines, the quiet conversations with drivers, the endless stamp of routine. Everything felt harmless, predictable, safe. And then, without sound or warning, Tyson's body went stiff. Maya didn't notice at first. She was adjusting her reflective vest, brushing raindrops off her badge. But when the leash pulled taut, a sudden jolt ran through her glove. She looked down. Tyson's ears were pointed like blades. His breath came in sharp, controlled bursts. The fur along his spine lifted in a dark ridge. His gaze was locked toward the line of approaching vehicles, toward something still hidden in the mist. "What is it?" Maya whispered. Tyson didn't blink. His pupils tightened, his nose flared, and a rumbling growl echoed from the base of his throat. Deep, ancient, instinctive. The kind of growl a dog gives only when the world is about to change. The rain thickened into a fine curtain, turning headlights into long, bleeding streaks of white that stretched across the slick harbor bridge. Maya followed Tyson's stare, her pulse tightening into a slow, hollow thud. Then she saw it. A black SUV emerged from the drifting mist. Steady, controlled, crawling toward the checkpoint as if trying too hard not to stand out. The engine hummed low, almost polite. The windows were tinted darker than the drizzle should have allowed, reflecting nothing but orange street lamps trembling in the wet. Tyson stepped forward, paw by paw, every movement deliberate, his breath fogged in the moisture, forming quick bursts of white in the air. His tail dropped behind him, his shoulders squared. This wasn't curiosity. This wasn't minor alert. This was instinct locking on to something invisible to everyone but him. Maya lifted her hand and motioned for the driver to slow. The SUV complied. A little too quickly, it rolled to a stop with a soft hiss of wet tires, the kind of stop made by someone rehearsing calm. Maya approached the driver's side window, water dripping from the brim of her cap. The window rolled down halfway. "Evening, officer," the man said. His voice was cheerful, but strained around the edges. A warehouse hoodie clung to his frame, still damp from the docks. "Heading home from my shift." Tyson erupted in a bark so sharp it cut the rain in half. The man flinched hard. Not the startled reaction of an innocent driver, but the guilty twitch of someone whose nerves were already stretched thin. "Sorry about your dog," he muttered, eyes darting to every angle except Maya's face. "Guess he doesn't like the smell of fish." "Where do you work?" Maya asked, leaning closer. "Warehouse 12, he said too fast. "Shipping crates, seafood, same old stuff." Maya glanced toward the rear of the SUV. The suspension sat oddly low, not overloaded, but uneven, as if the weight in the back was shifting. Tyson's bark deepened. He tugged the leash so hard the metal clip rattled against Maya's wrist. His gaze wasn't on the driver. It was locked on the back window. "Open your cargo area for me," Maya said. The man's smile faltered, a tiny crack in a brittle mask. "In this rain? Really? It's just tools and junk back there." "Open it," Maya repeated. Silence stretched across the bridge. Rain pattered on metal. Engines idled. Tyson's growl vibrated between Maya's boots. The man finally nodded, forcing a chuckle. "Sure, sure." But he didn't reach for the trunk switch. He reached for the gear shift. Maya's hand hovered over her holster. Tyson's claws scraped forward. The SUV's brake lights flared red. In the rear window, slick with condensation, a small shadow shifted. Someone, moving. Maya felt a drop of cold slide down her spine. Tyson pulled harder, growl turning into a low, wounded sound. The kind dogs make when danger is real and close, and human beings are too slow to understand. "What's in the back?" Maya asked, voice dropping into command. The man didn't answer. He didn't need to. The SUV's tires twitched, the engine revved, and the night inhaled, ready to break open. The cargo space smelled of rubber and cold metal. Lily had long stopped counting the hours. The SUV had been moving, stopping, turning, idling. Never long enough in one place for her to guess where she was, always long enough for fear to tighten in her chest like a fist. Her wrists stung where the zip ties rubbed her skin raw. Her ankles were bound too, but loosely, as if the man believed she couldn't fight anymore. For a while, she hadn't, until now. The moment the car slowed, Lily pressed her cheek to the blanket that hid her from view, listening through layers of fabric and steel. She heard muffled voices outside. The calm, steady tone of a woman, and then a sound that struck her like lightning. A dog's bark, not an angry bark, not a random bark, a bark that sounded sharp, precise, urgent. Like the one she had heard months before inside her school gymnasium. Memory flickered like a match in the dark. She saw the polished wooden floor of the gym, folding chairs lined up, the excited whispers of her classmates. At the front stood a female officer. Maya, smiling softly as she explained how to stay safe around strangers. Beside her sat a big Belgian Malinois with calm amber eyes and a gray-flecked muzzle. His name was Tyson. Maya had pressed her palm against a glass panel and said, "Kids, this is our special sign. If you're ever scared and can't speak, if you ever need help silently, you can do this." Thumb tucked in, fingers spread, a mimic of a dog's paw. "If Tyson ever sees it, he'll tell me. And I'll come." Lily remembered every word. She remembered wanting to pet Tyson, and she remembered Maya saying, "Dogs see what adults miss." Now, curled in the damp darkness of the SUV, Lily's breathing quickened. Her pulse hammered in her ears as the voices outside rose. First calm, then tense, then sharp. The driver's voice snapped with irritation. The woman's voice hardened. And then the dog barked again, louder this time, like he was warning her. "Now!" Lily pushed her shoulder against the box beside her, forcing her small body upward. The blanket slid off her face. Her hair clung to her damp cheeks. Fear surged through her. But behind it, something else flickered awake. A promise. She pressed her trembling fingers against the fogged rear glass, wiping a small circle clear with her sleeve. The world outside was a smear of rain and orange lights. But then, through the mist, she saw him, a dog, the same dog, older, maybe wetter, definitely, but unmistakably Tyson. Her breath hitched. "Please, please see me." Lily shaped her hand exactly the way Maya had taught her. Thumb tucked, palm open, fingers spread, pressed firmly against the glass like her small hand could reach him through the storm. The SUV's engine vibrated beneath her. The man barked a command she didn't understand. The vehicle jolted. But Tyson reacted first. His bark crashed against the metal walls, vibrating into Lily's bones. He saw her. He remembered. He understood. Lily swallowed a sob and whispered into the dark, "Please, please help me." Outside, Tyson lunged. Inside, Lily braced herself, and the driver's world started to unravel. The moment Lily's palm flattened against the glass, the world outside seemed to lurch. Tyson's bark cracked through the rain like a lightning strike. Raw, violent, unmistakably urgent. Every hair along his spine bristled. His paws scraped across the slick asphalt as he lunged forward, trying to reach the back of the SUV. Maya felt the leash snap taut in her hand. "Tyson, heel!" But the dog didn't hear her. Or maybe he did, but something stronger pulled him. Something deep and ancient, older than training and rules. A child calling for help. The SUV's brake lights flared red. The driver's shoulders tightened. His right hand slid fully onto the gear shift. "Sir!" "Don't," Maya warned, stepping closer. But he already had. The tires bit into the wet asphalt. The engine roared. The SUV shot forward, scattering orange cones into spinning arcs of plastic. Water exploded outward as the vehicle fishtailed around the barricade and surged toward the open stretch of the bridge. "Hey! Stop the car!" Another officer shouted. The man didn't even look back. Tyson tore free. His collar twisted. The clip snapped loose from Maya's grip. He hit the ground running, claws skimming over the rain-soaked pavement, muscles coiling into pure velocity. "Tyson!" Maya sprinted for her cruiser, boots slipping on the slick surface. Her breath burned cold in her throat. She slammed into the driver's seat, lights flashing, sirens slicing open the wet night. "Unit 21 in pursuit of a black SUV. Probable child inside. K9 is engaged on foot. Repeat, K9 is running after the suspect." Static crackled. Rain hammered the windshield. Wipers smeared the world into streaks of silver and black. Up ahead, the SUV barreled toward the city, its taillights blinking like frantic red pulses through the mist. But what froze Maya's breath wasn't the fleeing vehicle. It was Tyson. He sprinted after it with a desperation that didn't belong to a retired dog. He ran as if every beat of his heart was tied to the tiny hand pressed against that glass. His paws splashed through puddles, sending fans of water into the air. He slipped once, recovered instantly, and pushed harder. The SUV swerved. Lily slammed into the sidewall inside, letting out a small cry that only she heard. She pressed her hand to the glass again. Tyson saw it, another flash of movement, and barked with a ferocity that cut through engines and sirens and rain. Maya floored the accelerator. Her cruiser surged forward, tires buzzing against the slick road. The gap between her and Tyson narrowed. But the SUV still pulled ahead, weaving through traffic like a predator desperate to escape. Come on, Maya muttered through gritted teeth. A delivery truck swerved aside, barely avoiding Tyson's path. The dog didn't flinch. He wasn't chasing a suspect. He wasn't following orders. He was answering a signal, a silent, shaking hand in the dark, a promise made long ago in a school gym. And as the SUV disappeared deeper into the harbor streets, one truth echoed through the storm. Tyson would not stop. Not for rain, not for pain, not until he reached the girl who had called him. The chase veered off the bridge and plunged straight into the arteries of the harbor. Narrow streets pulsing with neon reflections and sheets of falling rain. The SUV's taillights flickered like a wounded animal darting through shadows, weaving between late-night delivery trucks and scooters splashing through puddles. Maya held the wheel tight, knuckles white beneath her gloves. Her cruiser fishtailed for a moment before she regained control. Unit 21 still in pursuit. Suspect heading southbound toward the Fish Market District. She blasted into the radio, voice shaking with adrenaline. Static answered. Backup was still minutes away. Too long. Tyson sprinted ahead of her cruiser now, a streak of wet fur and raw determination. His paws struck the ground in rhythm. Splash, slap, splash. Like a heartbeat refusing to falter. He darted between crates stacked on sidewalks, past flickering street vendors pulling tarps over their stalls to escape the rain. A crate of oranges toppled as he barreled by, citrus rolling across the street like tiny glowing marbles. He didn't look back. He didn't have to. He could still smell her. Inside the SUV, Lily clung to the rough metal frame as the vehicle swerved violently. Every turn jostled her. Every bump shot pain through her tied wrists. But she kept her eyes glued to the rear window, breath fogging the glass, searching for that silhouette. Please be there. Please don't fall. Please don't stop. The SUV burst past a row of shuttered seafood stalls, puddles exploding beneath its wheels. The driver cursed, gripping the wheel with both hands, sweat mixing with rain dripping from his hood. Stupid dog, he hissed. Stupid checkpoint. Why'd she have to look up tonight? He took a sharp turn into a narrow alley. Maya barely made it in time, her cruiser scraping a rusted dumpster as she swung through the opening. Sparks showered the wet concrete, dying instantly in the rain. Tyson didn't slow. He threw himself through the alley's choke point, his body sliding sideways on the slick ground. But he kept moving, claws digging in, eyes locked on the fleeing car. The alley spit them out into the open stretch of the industrial marina. A wide, echoing space lit by flickering sodium lamps and the glow of cargo ship lights in the distance. The air smelled of salt and diesel, wind cutting through the corridor of stacked containers like a cold blade. Maya's stomach dropped. If the SUV reached the far piers, it could disappear into the maze of warehouses, boats, and darkness. He could ditch the girl, jump onto a departing vessel, vanish into the night. Tyson, she shouted out the window, voice lost in the storm. Don't get too close. But Tyson didn't hear her. Or maybe he did. And just didn't care. All he saw now was the girl. The SUV hit a puddle and hydroplaned for a heartbeat, fishtailing dangerously. The driver overcorrected, sending the vehicle skidding across the open concrete toward the line of shipping crates. Maya's breath caught. This was spiraling. This was becoming lethal. And Tyson, soaked, bleeding, refusing to fall behind, ran straight into the danger with a courage that ripped the night open. The industrial marina opened before them like a rust-stained labyrinth. Rows of shipping crates towering in uneven stacks, forklifts abandoned for the night, puddles shimmering gold beneath the flickering sodium lamps. Fog rolled off the water, drifting low and ghost-like across the concrete. The SUV shot through the empty expanse, tires screaming as the driver forced the vehicle toward the far end of Pier 12. "Don't do it," Maya whispered, dread clawing up her spine. But he did. The driver jerked the wheel. The SUV skidded sideways. For one breathless instant, the world hung suspended in a fragile, rain-drenched silence. Then everything shattered. Crash. The vehicle slammed into a stack of wooden pallets. Wood exploded. Crates toppled. The SUV bounced, spun, and came to a bone-jarring stop, its rear wheels hanging inches above the black, churning harbor water. A scream tore from inside the cargo area. "Lily!" Maya's heart seized. She floored the gas, her cruiser sliding to a halt just yards away. Tyson reached the wreck first. He didn't slow. He didn't hesitate. He launched himself at the twisted metal frame, paws clawing for purchase as he tried to reach the back door. The driver's door burst open. The man stumbled out, coughing, his face twisted with panic. He looked at the approaching police lights, saw the no-way-out edge of the pier, then turned toward the rear, toward Lily. "Don't!" Maya shouted, but his hands were already grabbing her. He yanked her from the back, dragging her across the wet planks. A box cutter pressed against her throat. Rain streaked down the blade, turning it into a trembling silver line against the girl's skin. Lily whimpered, knees scraping the wood. "Back off," the man screamed. "Back off, or she goes in the water." The wind howled across the pier. The waves below slapped against the pylons with hollow, hungry thuds. Maya stepped forward, gun drawn, breath held tight in her chest. "Let her go," she said, voice low, steady. "There's nowhere left to run." The man tightened his grip. His fingers shook. Whether from the crash or the fear didn't matter. All it would take was one slip. Tyson moved, not a run, not a leap, a ghost-like glide, low to the ground, circling behind crates, his paws silent on rain-soaked wood. His eyes locked on Lily, then on the knife, then back on Lily. He made his choice. The driver shouted again, voice cracking with desperation. "One more step and—" He never finished. Tyson erupted from behind the crates like a thunderbolt of muscle and fur. He slammed into the man's back with full force. Enough to knock the box cutter into the darkness and send the man sprawling across the pier. Lily collapsed to her knees, trembling, gasping for air. Maya sprinted forward, scooping the girl into her arms. "You're safe, sweetheart. I've got you." Behind her, Tyson stood over the fallen kidnapper, teeth bared in a low, vibrating snarl. His body a shield between Lily and the danger that had hunted her through the night. The man froze, not another twitch, not a single breath out of rhythm, because for the first time tonight, he realized he wasn't dealing with a retired dog. He was dealing with a hero. Rain pooled in trembling circles around the fallen kidnapper. Officers rushed past him toward Maya and Lily, but the man didn't struggle. He didn't plead. He didn't even try to move. He just smirked, a slow, crooked smile that had no place on the face of a cornered criminal. Maya tightened her grip on Lily, shielding her from the sight. "Don't look at him," she whispered. But Tyson looked. The Malinois stood rigid, breath steaming in the cold air, rain dripping from his muzzle. His stance had shifted. Not an attack stance anymore, but something else. Alert, listening, reading. The kidnapper let out a low chuckle, spitting blood into the puddle beside him. "You think you stopped something big tonight?" he rasped. "You didn't stop anything." Maya's jaw clenched. "You kidnapped a child. That ends now." He laughed again. "Broken, grimy, ugly. Kid? Singular? Sure." Maya froze. Lily did, too. Tyson's ears snapped forward. "What are you talking about?" Maya demanded, voice tightening. The man leaned his head back against the crate behind him, looking up toward the night sky as if speaking to the rain itself. "You're late." His smile widened. "One delivery's already gone." The words hit Maya like a cold blade. "Another—" "What?" she whispered. He didn't answer. He didn't have to, because Tyson suddenly turned, not toward the man, not toward the SUV, not toward Maya, but toward the edge of the marina, where the pier lights flickered and died one by one, swallowed by the thick fog rolling off the black water. Maya felt it before she saw it. An instinctive tightening in the air, a silence settling over the pier as if the world was holding its breath. "Tyson?" she called softly. He took one step forward, then another, his nose twitching, his tail low, his muscles coiled like wire drawn too tight. He wasn't tracking the man on the ground. He wasn't responding to Maya's voice. He had scented something else. Someone else. Lily's trembling voice cracked the silence. "He's not lying." Maya knelt beside her. "Sweetheart, what do you mean?" Lily swallowed hard, eyes fixed on the dark stretch of warehouses beyond the pier. "There were more vans," she whispered. "Not just his. They said a boat comes tonight." A chill crawled up Maya's spine. The kidnapper chuckled again. "Harbor never sleeps. Officer, kids go in, crates go out. Easy business." "You're lying," Maya snapped, but Tyson didn't think so. The dog stepped closer to the edge of the pier, gaze locked on a warehouse whose windows glowed faintly. Warehouse 12, exactly where the driver claimed to work, through the rain, through the darkness, through the hum of generators. Tyson stared as if he could see a second threat moving behind the metal walls. A shadow, a shape, a heartbeat. He let out a single bark. Sharp, low, vibrating with certainty. Maya looked at the warehouse, then at Tyson, then back at the smirking man on the ground, and she realized something terrifying. The chase wasn't over. The rescue wasn't complete, and the only one who truly understood how deep this went was a retired dog whose instincts had never retired at all. Warehouse 12 loomed at the far end of the pier like a giant rusted beast, its corrugated metal walls trembling in the wind. Half the windows were cracked, the other half fogged over. A dull hum leaked through the seams. Generators, maybe, or something else. Maya handed Lily to an officer waiting by the cruiser. "I'll be right back," she promised. "Tyson and I aren't done yet." Lily's fingers clung to her sleeve for a moment. "Bring him back," the girl whispered. "I will," Maya said, because she had to believe it. Tyson trotted beside her toward the warehouse, paws silent on the wet concrete, body lowered into a stealth he hadn't practiced in years but had never forgotten. Rain slid down his fur in dark rivulets. His breathing was steady now. Measured, lethal, at the sliding door, Maya drew her flashlight and gun, nudging the metal open just enough to slip inside. The hinges groaned like something waking from a long sleep. The interior swallowed them whole. Rows of shipping crates stood in towering aisles. Scattered ropes, overturned buckets, half-packed boxes, the smell of oil and damp wood. Thin strips of yellow halogen light cut through the darkness like broken blades. Maya whispered, "Stay close." Tyson didn't need the reminder. A faint sound echoed somewhere deeper. Footsteps, hurried and uneven. A door slamming, then silence. Maya signaled Tyson forward. They moved between stacks of crates, shadows elongated under the flickering lights. Every drip of water from the ceiling sounded like a countdown. Then a figure bolted between aisles. "Police! Stop!" Maya shouted. The man didn't. Instead, he lunged behind a crate, reached into his jacket, and spun around with something in his hand. A taser. The crackling sound tore through the warehouse, electric arcs snapping like angry insects. "Tyson, no!" Maya yelled, but Tyson was already midair. The prongs grazed his flank, sending a jolt through his muscles. His body twisted, hit the ground hard, slid across the dusty floor. But he pushed himself up instantly, stumbling, teeth bared. The man cursed, trying to reload the taser cartridge. Maya aimed. "Drop it!" The man didn't drop it. He grinned and looked past Maya, over her shoulder. Before she could turn, a second attacker burst from the upper catwalk, leaping down with a wooden plank raised high. She heard the whoosh of the air split behind her. Too fast to dodge, too close to shoot, but not too close for Tyson. The Malinois launched with a snarl that echoed off metal walls, colliding with the falling attacker mid-swing. The plank slammed against a crate instead of Maya's skull, splintering into a dozen sharp fragments. The man hit the concrete with a dull thud, Tyson's teeth inches from his throat. Maya spun, breath ragged, adrenaline flooding her veins. "Tyson! Hold!" He froze, but didn't let go. The taser man took advantage of the distraction, raising the device again, until Maya's boot sent it skidding across the floor. "Hands where I can see them," she barked. The man hesitated. Tyson growled. "A deep, vibrating promise." The man dropped to his knees. Maya cuffed him, heart still pounding from the blow she never saw coming. She turned to Tyson. He was trembling from the taser hit, chest rising in sharp bursts, but his eyes never left the unconscious attacker beneath him. He had saved her life. Again. In the flickering warehouse light, Maya crouched beside him, resting her hand on his neck. "Good boy," she whispered. But Tyson didn't move his gaze from the shadows. He knew. They weren't alone yet. The warehouse felt colder once the fighting stopped. The hum of the generators faded into the background, replaced by the harsh rhythm of Maya's breathing and the distant thud of waves hitting the pier pylons. Rain tapped against the metal roof like a trembling heartbeat. Both suspects were cuffed. One unconscious, one kneeling with his hands behind his head, chest rising and falling in frantic spurts. Tyson stood over the man he'd tackled, muscles quivering from the taser shock, but posture unbroken. His eyes followed every twitch of the suspect's fingers. Maya anchored a knee against the taser man's back, securing the cuffs. "Try anything, and he won't save you next time," she muttered. The man spat dust onto the floor. "You don't even know what you walked into." Maya ignored him. She rose, gripping her flashlight with shaking fingers. "Tyson, with me." He stayed close, leaning slightly into her leg as if steadying himself, but still alert, scanning shadows. They moved deeper into the warehouse. At first, it looked like a typical storage site. Stacks of crates, coils of rope, tarps, overturned pallets, but the details grew wrong in ways that pulled at Maya's gut. A child's pink sneaker under a crate, a half-eaten granola bar next to a bucket, a crumpled juice box, a tiny blue sweater sleeve snagged on a nail. The beam of Maya's flashlight trembled. "Dear God," she whispered. She shifted crates aside, revealing a small pile of belongings. Tiny backpacks, mismatched gloves, a stuffed bear with one eye missing. Items too small for any dock worker. Too innocent for a place that smelled of diesel and rust. Tyson nosed gently at the bear, then looked up at Maya with a soft whine, a sound that carried grief and anger intertwined. Maya swallowed the tightness in her throat. This wasn't just a hideout. It was a holding site for children. Her hand found a spiral notebook half buried under a tarp. She flipped it open. Pages smeared with dew and grease were covered in scribbles. Dates, initials, dock numbers, cargo labels, ship departure times, and on some lines, small, chilling symbols. A star, a circle, a little anchor. Behind her, the conscious suspect laughed. Dry, broken, triumphant. "You can't stop it, officer. This harbor moves thousands of crates a night. Lose one? They push another. Lose a van? They send a boat. You think the girl was unlucky?" Maya turned, fury tightening every muscle. He grinned. "She was scheduled." The words thudded into the silence like a gunshot. Tyson growled. Deep, primal, vibrating through the metal floor. The suspect's smile faltered. Maya stepped closer, eyes hard as steel. "How many kids have passed through here?" The man shrugged. "Depends on the week." "Where do they go?" He smirked again. "Farther than you think." Maya's hand tightened on the notebook. She wasn't shaking from fear now, but from a cold, bone-deep rage. Tyson suddenly alerted. Ears pricking, posture shifting. But this time not toward danger, toward something left behind. He padded toward a locked side door, his nose pressed against the bottom seam, inhaling deeply. Then he sat, rigid, waiting. Maya approached, shining her light. Under the door, caught on a splinter of wood, was a scrap of yellow fabric, a child's t-shirt. She picked it up gently, her throat tightening. This wasn't the end of the night. It was the beginning of a case far bigger than anything she'd been ready for. And Tyson, trembling, wounded, but unyielding, was telling her exactly where the next trail would begin. The hospital corridor glowed with harsh white light, the kind that made everything look too clean, too bright, too sharp. The air smelled of antiseptic, plastic curtains, and quiet hope. Maya pushed through the automatic doors carrying Lily in her arms, the girl's fingers still clinging to her rain-soaked uniform, like she was afraid letting go would make the world collapse again. Beside them, Tyson limped through the hallway, bandaged paw tapping lightly against the polished floor. His fur was matted with rain and dust, and every few steps his leg trembled. But he refused to fall behind. A nurse wheeled a gurney toward them. She needs evaluation immediately. Dehydration, shock, possible bruising, maybe worse. But Lily tightened her grip. "Don't leave," she whispered hoarsely. Her voice was so small it seemed to get swallowed by the fluorescent hum. Maya knelt beside her. "I'm right here. Tyson, too." The dog nudged his nose into Lily's palm, giving a tiny woof of reassurance, his warm breath misting against her shaking fingers. Only then did Lily let the nurse guide her onto the gurney. As they led her into an exam room, Maya waited just outside the door, pacing the same 6 feet of sterile tile over and over. Tyson pressed his side against her leg, leaning his weight as though anchoring her to the ground. Minutes stretched. Rain whispered faintly against the windows. Distant footsteps echoed like soft thunder. Then the door at the far end of the corridor burst open. A woman stumbled inside, hair damp, clothes disheveled, eyes swollen from hours. Maybe days of crying. Her voice cracked through the hallway. "Where is she? My daughter! Please! Where is she?" Maya stepped forward. "Ma'am." But she didn't have to finish, because the nurse opened the exam room door at that exact moment. Lily sat on the bed, wrapped in a warming blanket, IV line taped gently to her arm. The woman's breath collapsed. "Lily!" The girl's head snapped toward the voice. "Mom?" And then everything moved at once. The mother dropped to her knees, arms wrapping around her daughter with a desperation that made the entire hallway stop breathing. Lily clutched back with trembling hands, face buried in her mother's shoulder, sobs breaking free for the first time. Tyson patted forward softly. Lily extended a weak hand. "Come here, boy." He rested his head on the edge of the bed, tail giving a faint, fragile wag. The mother reached out with her free hand, stroking his fur with shaking fingers. "Thank you," she whispered, voice breaking. "You brought her back to me." Tyson closed his eyes as if absorbing the grief, the relief, the gratitude. Maya stood back, swallowing the lump in her throat. For years she had carried the weight of the child she couldn't save. An impossible shadow she never outran. But watching Lily return to her mother's arms, watching Tyson sink into the little girl's touch, something inside Maya shifted, gently, painfully, quietly. She turned away as detectives arrived with sealed bags. Phones, notebooks, GPS maps. Items pulled from the warehouse. Evidence of something larger, more organized, more monstrous. "Maya," one detective called, "this isn't just a kidnapping. That warehouse. It's part of a route. There are more initials, more dates, more docs." Maya looked through the small window of the exam room. Lily safe, Tyson standing guard beside her like a silent sentinel. Then she faced the detective. "Show me everything," she said. Her voice didn't tremble. Not anymore. The hospital's small trauma interview room was designed to feel gentle. Soft yellow lamps, beige walls, a box of tissues on a low table, 2 cushioned chairs instead of a metal desk. Even so, the air carried a fragile tension, as if the room itself was holding its breath around the little girl inside it. Lily sat wrapped in a soft blanket, legs folded underneath her, fingers twisting the corner of the fabric. A child therapist knelt beside her, speaking in a calm, rhythmic cadence. "You're safe. You can stop whenever it feels too heavy. We go slow, okay?" Lily nodded but kept glancing toward the door, specifically. Not at Maya, at Tyson. He eased himself down beside her chair, resting his chin gently across her foot. His breath came in slow, steady bursts. Lily's hand found his ear and curled into his fur. Only then did her trembling ease. Maya entered quietly, holding a notebook. She sat across from Lily, careful to keep her posture low, her voice gentler than she had used with any adult. "Sweetheart, we need your help to find the others, especially the little boy you mentioned." Lily's fingers tightened around Tyson's fur. The therapist whispered, "You're safe here. Nothing bad will happen if you tell the truth." Lily swallowed. Once, twice, her small throat bobbing like she was forcing back tears. "They moved us," she said finally. "All the time. Never the same place twice." Maya nodded softly. "But today was different." Lily nodded. "They kept saying the boat would come tonight. That one group goes, and the next comes." Maya's pen froze above the page. "A boat. Tonight. What time?" Maya asked carefully. Lily hesitated. "I heard them say, before 3. Before the shift changes. Before sunrise." She wiped her nose. "Doc? 7, I think." Maya's breath hitched. Doc 7, Order 3 Dobrmano. A location and a deadline. The first real lead. She leaned forward gently. "And the little boy. Do you know where he is?" Lily nodded, tears returning. "He's younger than me. Maybe 5. He was scared all the time. They said if I tried to run, he'd be the one they moved first." Tyson lifted his head, leaning gently against Lily's knee as if absorbing the weight of her words. Maya steadied her voice. "What's his name?" Lily blinked through tears. "Benji." The therapist rubbed Lily's shoulder. Maya's phone buzzed at that exact moment. She stepped into the hallway where detectives crowded around a rolling whiteboard freshly pulled from an adjacent office. It was already filled with pinpoints. Dock numbers, dates from the notebook, coded initials, vehicle sightings across the last 6 months. It looked nothing like a random kidnapping. It looked like a logistics operation. "Grant pulled logs from the warehouse," the detective said, pointing. 3 locations repeat, Dock 3, Dock 7, and a private storage yard east of the marina. "And the boat?" Maya asked. The detective grimaced. "One inbound at 0240, freight vessel, registered in a shell company we can't trace." "Who's on it?" "No manifest submitted." "That's your answer." Maya's stomach turned. "Any sign of other kids?" One detective tapped a red mark on the board. 2 missing person cases match initials in the notebook, and 1 pair of tiny shoes found behind the crates. He stopped himself, lowering his gaze. Maya closed her eyes for a second, then opened them. Harder, steadier than before. "Gear up," she said. "We hit Dock 7 in 20 minutes. A voice from the doorway. "Are you leaving me?" Lily stood there, blanket wrapped tight. Tyson pressed against her leg like a shadow. Maya knelt in front of her. "I'm going to bring Benji back, and any other kids still out there." Lily wiped her cheek. "Promise?" Tyson stepped forward, muzzle pressing against Maya's hand. "Making the promise with her." Maya nodded. "I swear." Outside, sirens began to warm up. The night wasn't over. It was counting down. The storm had eased, but the harbor air felt even heavier than before. Thick with salt, metal, and the sense that the night itself was bracing for what was coming, the police convoy assembled in the rear lot of the marina's operations center. Red and blue lights flashed silently, strobes reflecting off puddles like shards of broken neon. Officers moved with practiced urgency. Checking rifles, loading taser cartridges, tightening vests, snapping flashlights onto rails. The air vibrated with quiet determination. Maya stood at the hood of her cruiser reviewing the map. Dock 7 sat at the far end of the marina, right where the fog rolled thickest across the water. A single, narrow access road. Limited cover, 2 functioning floodlights, too many blind spots. She checked her watch. 2:31, 29 minutes left. A soft bump against her leg made her look down. Tyson, limping, bandaged, but eyes sharp. Focused. "You're not supposed to be here," Maya whispered, kneeling. The officers nearby watched, understanding already that stopping him was pointless. The dog had dragged himself into the lot the moment the convoy had formed, ignoring the medtech's calls, pushing through legs and equipment until he reached her. Maya cupped his muzzle. "You're hurt." Tyson blinked once, slow, then leaned his weight against her thigh as if anchoring himself in place. "You can stay," she murmured, "but you follow my lead. No chasing off, no breaking formation. Not tonight." His tail moved. Just once, enough to tell her he understood. Captain Reyes approached, flipping through a tablet. "Maya, intel from the Coast Guard. The vessel approaching Dock 7 killed its AIS transponder an hour ago. No ID, no manifest. If they're moving kids, they're doing it blind." "Number of armed?" she asked. "We don't know. Could be 2, could be 10. Maya glanced toward the fog-drenched pier ahead. Tyson's ears twitched. Reyes noticed. "He smell something?" Maya nodded slowly. "He always knows before we do." Reyes blew out a breath. "Then we move." He raised his voice. "Everyone, listen up." Boots snapped to attention. "We have credible intel of minors being moved through Dock 7 tonight. Possible multiple suspects. Unknown armament. Unknown exit routes. We go in quiet. Tight formation. No stray shots. Hostages come first." A chorus of firm nods. Reyes continued. "Maya and Tyson take point. They've tracked the first 2 suspects. They know the scent. Weapons on safe until contact is confirmed." An officer whispered. "Tyson's limping? Should we get another K9? Reyes didn't even look up. "If that dog wants to be here, he's here." Several officers murmured in agreement, the respect palpable. Maya slipped Tyson's tactical harness back on, tightening straps with careful hands. "This is the last run tonight," she whispered into his fur. "After this, you rest. I promise." Tyson pressed his forehead to her knee. An oath returned. A final radio burst crackled through the night. "Unidentified vessel is now within 1 nautical mile of Dock 7. Maya straightened. Tyson rose beside her, bracing through the ache in his leg. Reyes pointed toward the fog. "Move out." Engines rumbled. Sirens stayed off. The convoy rolled forward like a silent blade through the wet asphalt. As they approached the final turn toward Dock 7, Maya rested a hand on Tyson's back. His muscles were coiled, trembling. But not from fear, from purpose. The fog swallowed them whole. The last thing visible was Tyson's silhouette. Low, steady, resolute, leading them into the darkness where children waited, and where monsters thought they could hide. Dock 7 was a throat of fog and shadows, the kind of place where sound seemed to fall straight into the ocean. The convoy rolled to a silent stop at the mouth of the pier. The water lapped softly against pylons. The distant hum of a single vessel approached through the mist. Slow, deliberate, predatory, Maya stepped out, gun lowered but ready. "Formation, stay tight. Tyson." But Tyson was already alert. He froze mid-step, ears stiffening, muscles coiled. His nose lifted into the cold air, nostrils flaring toward the darkened line of shipping containers stacked near the dock's end. He smelled something, someone, a small scent, familiar, terrified. "Benji," Maya whispered. Tyson broke formation. Not running, but moving with steady, surgical precision, his paws tapping lightly through puddles, weaving between forklifts and crates. "Go with him," Reyes ordered. "This is his trail." Maya followed at his flank. The deeper they went, the thicker the fog grew, swallowing their outlines, flickering the floodlights into pale halos. When they rounded the second stack of containers, the scene revealed itself like a horrific tableau. A man in a black windbreaker stood at the edge of the dock, one arm locked tight around a little boy's torso. Benji, a tiny figure with tear-streaked cheeks, socks soaked through, arms bound. His small whimpers barely pierced the air. The kidnapper held a pistol leveled straight at the boy's temple. "Don't move!" he screamed, voice cracking. "One more step and the kid goes into the sea." Officers froze. Maya lifted her hand slowly. "Let him go. It's over." But the man's pupils were blown wide. Panicked, shaking. "No, it's not. The ship is coming. He's mine to deliver." The foghorn of the approaching vessel bellowed, vibrating the entire pier. Benji cried harder, and that's when Tyson stepped forward. Just one step. Slow, deliberate. The man's weapon snapped toward him. Back! Back! Maya hissed. Tyson! Stay with me, boy! But she knew. This wasn't impulse. This was purpose. Tyson angled his body, showing himself, drawing the threat to him, not the child. His tail lowered. His stance widened. His eyes didn't blink. He was asking the boy to trust him. Benji looked at the dog through tears, chest hitching. Doggy, help! The kidnapper jerked him tighter. Shut up! That was his mistake. Benji's tiny flinch shifted the grip on the gun just half an inch. Tyson saw it first. He shot forward like a flash of light splitting the fog. Tyson! No! The dog lunged, jaws clamping on the man's forearm with bone-cracking force. The gun fired. A deafening blast. Sparks flew as the bullet ricocheted off a metal bollard, missing everyone. The kidnapper screamed, stumbling backward. Benji slipped from his grasp, straight toward the edge of the pier. No! Maya sprinted. The boy toppled, arms flailing. The dark ocean opened beneath him. Then a streak of brown slammed sideways into him. Tyson! He nudged Benji mid-fall, redirecting the boy's trajectory, sending him skidding safely into Maya's arms. Maya caught him, falling to her knees, wrapping her arms around his tiny, trembling frame. I've got you. I've got you, sweetheart. Behind them, the kidnapper ripped his arm free and ran, bolting toward the vessel now docking beside the pier. Officers gave chase, but he ducked between crates, scrambling up the gangway as the crew shouted in confusion. Maya let go of Benji just long enough to stand. Stay with the officers, baby! She took off after the suspect. He sprinted across the ship's deck, slipping on wet steel, knocking into coils of rope. He swung wildly toward a ladder up to the navigation deck. Stop! Maya shouted. He didn't. He climbed, panting, bleeding, cursing. You won't stop the line! You won't stop any of. Tyson hit him like a storm. The dog had followed her. Limping, gasping, but unstoppable. He launched onto the ladder, clamping onto the man's pant leg, dragging him down 2 rungs. The man screamed and kicked violently. Tyson fell. Hit the deck hard! Tyson! Maya's heart nearly tore itself apart. The man leveled the pistol. Maya fired first. A single precise shot. The gun flew from his hands, skittering across the metal deck into the sea. He froze. She cuffed him moments later, breathing fire into the cold night. It's over. The officers hauled him away. The fog swallowed his screams. Maya turned. Tyson lay on his side, chest rising in painful, shallow breaths. Tyson, buddy. She dropped to her knees, hands cupping his face. He blinked once, weak, but present. You did it, she whispered, tears mixing with the drizzle. You found him. You saved him. Benji rushed forward from the officer's hold, throwing himself onto Tyson's chest, burying his face in the dog's fur. Doggy, thank you. Thank you. Tyson lifted his head just enough to nuzzle the boy's cheek. The vessel's floodlights flickered. The scent of diesel softened. Somewhere behind them, the first sliver of dawn began to push against the night. Maya stroked Tyson's head. Let's go home, hero. The sun set warm amber across the small community park where families gathered every Saturday morning. Children played tag, parents sipped coffee, and under a wide oak tree, a retired Malinois lay sprawled on a picnic blanket. Tyson's fur had grown back around the taser scar. His limp had faded to a soft hitch. His eyes still shimmered with that unmistakable glow. The glow of a dog who had seen darkness and chosen to run into it anyway. Benji sat beside him, legs crossed, reading a picture book out loud in a soft voice. Lily lay on Tyson's other side, drawing with crayons, leaning against his warm body. Maya watched from a bench, hand over her heart. Reyes sat beside her. He's different now, he murmured. Maya smiled. No, he's the same. We're just finally seeing him clearly. Tyson lifted his head, ears perking as the children laughed. A breeze moved through the trees. Birds chirped. Normal life breathed again. Maya whispered the truth she had come to understand. Heroes don't always have badges. Some have fur and a heartbeat that refuses to quit. And Tyson, eyes soft, tail thumping, rested his head between the two children he had saved. Finally at peace, when the night was darkest, a retired K-9 named Tyson chose to run toward danger. Not for glory, not for reward, but for two frightened children who had no one else to call. And maybe that's the real miracle hidden in stories like this. Animals don't need words to understand our fear, and they don't hesitate when we need them most. Tyson didn't wear a medal. He didn't need a badge. His courage came from something far quieter. The loyalty that lives in every heartbeat, every breath, every paw print. If this story touched you, remind someone today that heroes come in all forms. Some of them walk on four legs. If Tyson's bravery inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because every paw print has a story, and we're here to honor each one of them.